My name is Philippe Leruth. I am a veteran Belgian journalist, almost retired. And for more than 25 years I have been busy defending the rights of journalists, first as president of the Belgian Association of Journalists, then as vice president of the European Federation of Journalists, and eventually as president of the International Federation of Journalists. And at every stage of this paraprofessional activities, I was confronted with the question of press freedom in Turkey. And this is probably the reason why I was asked to draft a report for the Tribune, because I have an experience with this question. I had to answer, as a matter of fact, two questions. Can Turkey be considered as a country with a sufficient degree of press freedom for democracy? And can the decisions taken by the Turkish authorities after the coup of 15 July 2016 considered as normal reaction to a country with a coup, where a coup found state? The first question, I would say, unfortunately, my findings are that Turkish journalists never experience real press freedom. When I look back in the time, mostly Kurdish and Armenian journalists were under pressure, but after 2001, when President Erdogan became prime minister, the repression against journalists increased. And by 2010 came the so-called Ergenekon case, which was a supposed complot by Turkish generals to overthrow the authorities. And by then, not only Armenian and Kurdish journalists were targeted, but also leftist journalists, also so-called nationalist or Kemalist journalists, and also investigative journalists, and many of them were jailed by then. And then once again we had the feeling the situation could better, and then came the coup in 2016. I recall then when the coup occurred, a press photographer was killed in Istanbul, and that a journalist from the television had to read a press release threatened by a gun, which was a nightmare experience. And after the coup, the repression against media and journalists increased. 178 media outlets, I mean by this press agencies, radios, newspapers were closed. 30 publishers were closed. 3,000 journalists lost their jobs without any social rights, and many of them were jailed. It's very difficult to know exactly how many journalists were jailed, but accordingly almost 200 journalists were jailed. Many had to fly to Germany or to Europe to avoid being detained. And the first arrest came with condemnations to 30 years jail, for instance. So the question, can the reaction of the Turkish authorities be described as a normal reaction? The answer is for me clearly no, because last July, for instance, a new law came on electronic media, which are obliged to have legal delegates in Turkey, which would facilitate also repression against those media. By the way, and it was also one of my tasks, I looked at the arrest of the European Courts of Human Rights, and at that level, Turkey is probably the country which has the most condemnation for infringement of article of the European Declaration of Human Rights on freedom of expression and press freedom. So, unfortunately, the answer to both questions is no. The degree of press freedom is not sufficient for a democracy, and the reaction of Turkish authorities to attend coup is not a normal reaction for a democracy attacked by a plot.